and he's just a gentleman. You know, what can I say? I learned, I don't have but making the best of basics, but I was able to walk into a friend's house and find his book, Don't Get Caught with Your Pantry Down. And it's like Google before Google. It's no longer in print and kind of combined. If you go to Making the Best of Basics, and I'm flipping through the part right now, if you go back to the back of the book, it's called, let me go to right here, Section 8, Basic Library, creating a preparedness library. And you go in here and you have businesses. And I haven't looked at the book for about 3 or 4 months, the original one he did, but it was before Google. He's obviously shortened it down, and a lot of the companies in the original book are no longer in business, but he did put some of that into Making the Best of Basics. I encourage you to look at those, and those are companies that he recommends, you know, he recommends these companies, and hopefully they're upstanding companies and still in business. So that I you know, what I know about James, I look forward to. I'm going to meet him in Sandy, Utah here in about a month or about 3 weeks' time. We are going to be at the in Utah for the Utah listeners or anybody who's coming to Utah during the 5th and 6th of November. We will be at the Self-Reliance Expo in Sandy, Utah. Salt Lake. They say Salt Lake, but it's actually in Sandy, which is just south of Salt Lake. And you can go to their website at selfrelianceexpo.com and buy tickets. And I'll personally be there. I know James will be there, and it'll be great to meet him. But he's always been a great help to me, whether it's been supporting the show, being, you know, this has all turned to us having this radio show. And I'm just excited to be on the air. And the feedback that I've gotten, I just really appreciate all the feedback. But getting back to the Best of Basics book, my personal dealings with it, I was able to just refresh a little bit last night, and it actually has a lot of information that I still have to, you know, make action on. A lot of it is actually helping you get better prepared. I mean, it has charts galore. If anybody who has it know, it has these, how do you say it? It has these charts or graphs or whatever they're called. I'm losing the word I want to say in relation to what he has in his book. These he calls them, I believe they're charts. But anyway, just a lot of data and information packed into one page at a time, or sometimes they go on to multiple pages. Sometimes he calls them quick lists, and those are invaluable lists and stuff like that. But he also has it where you can put in your, I really like the beginning of the book in Section 2, which is where he actually asks you to put in all your personal information and keep documentation on everything. Something like that really stuck out to me, you know, in the book. You don't have to necessarily go a lot of places after you have this book. I know I'm going to talk about crisis preparedness, the Crisis Preparedness Handbook, but this one is kind of like, I think he calls it the Bible of preparedness. I mean, he has touched on a lot of bases with this book, and I really like that. I really like the thing that caught my eye too was the parable of Gomer, and but ultimately, you know, and encourage people to read that if they haven't and they've gone to the more, you know, the more content of the book instead of the story at the beginning. But he really does a good job in his book to give you the full package of preparedness. You know, the practicalities of it. You know, whether it be in food storage. You know, eat what you store you eat. You know, maybe I'm overdoing that cliche, but really, really taking the time. I remember about a month ago, I'd gotten some food storage from a company. They're called Wise Food Storage, and shortly we're going to start offering their food products on our site. And they sent me a couple packages. You're more than welcome to go to their site and get a free at wisefoodstorage.com and get a free sample. No cost to you, no credit card, no multi-level marketing program, nothing. And they send out 3 or 4 packets of food. And I learned that I need to do better on my food storage preparation. whether it be making sure I put the water and store it long enough. I didn't put the water in long enough in one of them. One of them came out perfect, pretty much perfect. And the second one, I've got to make sure that I let it sit long enough. And I learned a little bit more about food storage that I otherwise did not know. And I know that James touches up on that out there. I know James extensively, and so extensively talks about food storage. And so I don't want to be the purveyor of all this information that he already has out and, rehash it over and over again. I want to focus on the other book, Crisis Preparedness Handbook, because it's similar, but there is a difference to it. It's a different book and a different take. Jack has a different take over in the book, and I really like the way he explains things. But just to recap about the book, if you don't have it, I completely recommend it. It is coming out in digital form soon, on CD and DVD soon. James is coming out. I don't know if it's this month or coming out in November, December. And he is also coming out with a new edition to the book. So we have a few of the 11th editions left before the 12th edition comes out. A few changes. He added in some new chapters, extended, I think, the water chapter, he told me. I'm not 100%, can't remember. But the water chapter, and he got rid of the advertising in the middle. Just added in a few more other chapters to the book to give people a little bit more information. So, like I said, if you don't have Making the Best of Basics, you're listening to this radio show, you're on his network, on the Preparedness Radio Network. So I have no doubt most of you probably already have it. So I hope maybe that was a little bit of a refresher on his information. I know we didn't get into too detail, but I want to go into more detail about a book that I found out about 2 months ago. And shifting gears to another book that we offer on our website at goberkey.com is called the Crisis Preparedness Handbook. And I'll give you a little bit of background on how I came to receive this book. And I did read it, and I finished it at the end of September. I read it between, in the month of September. I set a goal out to have it read and completed it by the end of September. And in the process, I learned a lot about, the way Jack thinks. Now, Jack wrote the book, I believe, the first printing is back in, the book is 320 pages, so it's not a long read. It's a pretty quick read, and it's not an extensive, if you want more extensive, you go with Making the Best of Basics, but they both complement each other, I think, because one can be a little bit quicker read, and James is a little bit more in detail where you can write in the book. You write your name and all this information, this personal information, which you otherwise may not do in Crisis Preparedness Handbook. So Jack, he wrote this book back in 1984 and updated it in 2002 and brought it out. Unfortunately, the sad news with Jack Spigarelli is that he passed away shortly after, around 2002, a little after 9/11. The book talks about 9/11, but he passed away, and his wife has graciously or generously carried on his legacy, which is the book. And I can't exactly remember when I found out about the book or how I did. It might have been through James Rawls' site or another survival type of blog. And I knew I had to buy it, and I called his wife, I called to get Jack, and she had told me he passed away. And so, but she decided, because the book had such a good reception, she decided to let it, keep it going, keep the book going, and I commend her for it. And I ended up buying a few copies from her. She lives in Utah, and we bought a few copies from her, and it's taken off in this last about month and a half since I carried the book. And I just had the mindset that I want to read the book so that I might be able to give not only my listeners here, but also, for my own knowledge, just find out what Jack thought, what mindset he was in. I will give my honest opinion about the book, obviously I like the book. I like the information. There are a couple things that I wish were different about the book, and I'll explain what they were. But getting into the book more in detail, it is the Crisis Preparedness Handbook. It pretty much goes over from basics of food, or from just generically prepping, getting the mindset of prepping, and just getting, whether it be food storage, water preps, equipment, what equipment to have, livestock. He goes from those who may not have a lot of land and may not have a lot of land or property or a lot of money, to those who can afford 10, 20 acres with livestock. I mean, he covers a lot of bases. I really like the fact in the book that when he talk about food, he would talk about food storage, but he also explained how to have how much of your own livestock you would have. Now, obviously, I can't give you the exact figures off the top of my head, but he did. I enjoyed how he said, okay, you need this much land for horses or for cattle, and you need this much land for if you're going to have sheep or lamb, or goats for goat milk, how much, milk you need, and how much preps you need in order to have livestock. But I really liked his approach. At the beginning, my honest opinion at the beginning was a little bit jaded when I started reading the first few pages of the book. I was under the impression in the introduction when he started using a lot of acronyms. And I'm not saying I don't like acronyms. I just can't handle multiple amounts of acronyms. I think just my personal opinion is that there's an acronym, if you look on Yahoo or whatever, there are millions of acronyms, from prepping acronyms, BOB, bug out Bob, bug out bag, to, you name it, there's an acronym for companies have acronyms, and they can be overly abused. I mean, obviously there's some really good ones like Bob, like bug out bag, but I was getting a little bit turned off by the EEK and all this stuff because I remember emergency evacuation kit more than EEK sometimes, or just trying to remember all of the, some of you may agree, may not. But anyway, so he went in the introduction, started explaining all these acronyms about prepping. But I think I don't want to get away from the real important information, which was how to prep, get in the mindset, get rid of the fears. He has a question and answer right after the introduction. He has a section called, I'm going to go to it right now, called Answers to Questions. And, he tries to really get over the fear of things called, you'll be called a hoarder, you'll be called a freak, in other words, or you're just paranoid. And I'm like, you know what? I think he thoroughly answers those questions. One of them, I'll just read one of them here. One of the first ones is that, don't you think it's being overly pessimistic to expect major catastrophes requiring such a level of preparation? Isn't it a bit paranoid? And I just love his answers. He's just like, I would just think of it too. You buy life insurance, house insurance, all these insurances in your life, but you think it's, people, not you, but people think it's paranoid to have preparations. And I just go like, well, then just dump all your insurances then. I mean, you have those as a cushion for some security, and then you're not necessarily paranoid by doing so. Some of it's required by law, and some of it you do just in case, for the emergency. So that is the first part of the book, and I think what I really liked, another part that I really liked about the book, he makes it simple. It's not the most overall general view of the book, including the water chapter at the end. You're not going to find an extensiveness. The charts are there. These charts are there, but not as extensive, obviously, as James Talmadge Stevens. But